Hey, everybody, welcome to the TV Report. This is going to be our Final Four edition. We aren't going to be on the full hour. We just want to talk Final Four right now, but we're also going to be talking with our co-host, Tony Kennedy. Tony, how you feeling, bud?
I'd be feeling better if my boys were in that Final Four. Seeing that we're not in the Final
Oh,
Four,
wait a minute.
we got a little bit of problems now.
Wait. You can't wear the North Carolina hat today.
Yes, I can.
No, you cannot.
Yes, I can.
That's disrespectful to the NC State fans, man. They earned their way to the Final Four this year, Tony.
I appreciate NC State fans. I like it. This is the 41st anniversary of them winning one of the biggest games of our lifetime. I was in 7th grade when they won that game, and we were just learning how to dunk the projectors, the screens in the classroom. So we all were Phi Slamma Jamma fans because we take the little ball and go up and dunk it like Phi Slamma Jamma. So, but we didn't realize we were watching history and realize how crazy that was. That will never be duplicated again. Although, if this team wins,
two more games,
it will be damn close. Because, man, oh, man, that 83 team, I tell you what, man, if you ever pulled up a book and opened the dictionary and it said definition of Cinderella, they were going to be the first ones on there.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be.
Yeah, and that was a historic game, Tony. 1983, NC State Wolfpack. A direct beneficiary of what they call the at-large bid. As most of us remember, us guys of a certain age, the University of Maryland and NC State, that was what, 1974, right? 1974, up until that point, you had to win your conference tournament or the regular season, depending on your conference rules. And that was what got you the automatic bid. And every league got one bid. That's it. Maryland at that time, that was the Len Elmore team.
Yeah,
John Lucas. Those guys were ranked in the top 4 all year. NC State ranked in the top 4 all year. They jockeyed for position in the ACC all season. This is the old ACC, 8 teams. They jockeyed for position all year. They get down to the end, the ACC championship game, and they stage one of the greatest, probably the greatest ACC tournament championship game ever. Goes into overtime, and I believe it was what? Was it 104 to 101, 104 to 100?
It was
103 to 100.
103 to 100, I believe. Yep.
103 to 100. NC State behind 7'4" Tom Burleson.
Yep.
Was just able to hang on and beat the Terps. And that kept one of the best teams in all of college basketball out of the tournament. Yep. You could argue that Maryland team that didn't make the tournament that particular year, they're the greatest team to miss the NCAA tournament, period. Because the teams that miss now is the 5th and 6th best, 7th and 8th best team in their league.
Yeah.
University of Maryland, and shout out to Lefty Driesell, rest in peace, my brother. That was probably Lefty's best team.
Yeah.
It was probably Lefty's best team. Should have won the national title. Didn't even make the NCAA tournament. You could have put them in the NCAA tournament that year in place of NC State in 1974. They probably would have done as well as NC State did. And as I recall, that was the year NC State won the national championship. They beat Marquette. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. They beat Marquette that year. Just one of the seminal years of college basketball was 1983. You mentioned Phi Slamma Jamma. Houston was there. Akeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler, Benny Anders. That was just a crazy team. Larry Mishaw, very athletic team, up and down the court. It was incredible how much talent was on the floor that night. But when it came down to the end, Sidney Lowe and Derek Wittenberg from DeMatha basically controlled the game. They controlled it.
Thorough Bailey from Bladensburg.
Thorough Bailey from Bladensburg. Three DC dudes on that team, and came down to the end. Desperation heave. Derek Wittenberg is always going to say that was a pass. That was a jump shot, bro. That was a jump. That wasn't a pass. Lorenzo Charles got behind Akeem Olajuwon. Olajuwon just didn't box out, and Lorenzo Charles was able to follow it up and slam home at the buzzer to win. And, rest in peace, Jim Valvano, running around the court like a crazy man. Nobody wanted to hug Jimmy. I don't know what that was about.
But you heard the story. After every game, him and Wittenberg would come and hug after every game. So when he ran out on the court, he couldn't find Wittenberg. And so he was looking for somebody to hug.
Wittenberg got mobbed.
He got mobbed. Wittenberg got mobbed because they ran over to him. They all got mobbed, and he was always, because they showed it after every game, they would run and hug each other. So when he come in, and he's just like, I think he was still in shock.
Oh, he had to be. It's kind of like if somebody hit you in the car and you jumped out, that like you, oh man, my legs are still. He was in shock, dude. I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, when you look at him, he was in shock. I mean, he was just like, I can't believe we beat them. And as in 1974, in 1983, the game that we're talking about now here on the TD Report, please hit the like and subscribe button for us. We got Cody running the show behind the scenes. The 1983 team had to win the ACC tournament just to get in. If they had lost in the ACC tournament, they were not going to make it in. They were able to beat Virginia, who was the #1 team in the country at the time. Now listen, this 1983 era, Ralph Sampson was still in college. Michael Jordan was still in college. Akeem Olajuwon was still in college. David Robinson was just in high school finishing up. He would have gotten into college in about 86.
Patrick Ewing was in college.
Patrick Ewing was still in college.
Chris
But David
Mullin.
Robinson coming behind that.
Chris
There was
Mullin.
a lot of stars. Clyde Drexler. A lot of
Charles
stars
Barkley.
in college. Yep.
Lynn
Barkley was still in college. That John Stockton was at Gonzaga. No one had heard of him. Let's see. Karl Malone was still in college back then. Len Bias. That 84 draft was just kind of bubbling up. So you think of the class in those championship years of 82, 83, 84, even into 85 when Pat Ewing finally came out of school. But that was the era when dudes tended to stay in school all 4 years. That was different college basketball back then. Okay. So you swirl all that around in the ACC. You got Ralph Sampson sitting there in 1983. This is his senior year. Okay. He came in 1980. 1981, he loses in the national semifinals to Indiana, Bobby Knight, and Isaiah Thomas. That was the Isaiah Thomas team that won the championship that year. UVA did make it to the Final Four in 81. Okay?
Did y'all lose to Indiana or did y'all lose to Carolina?
Lost to Indiana. No, we lost to Indiana that year.
So Carolina beat
Virginia, I think, in the tournament before Ralph got there, 79, something like that, in the Spectrum. I think it was Al Wood.
Oh, no. Carolina beat, was it Maryland or in 81? Yeah, well, Carolina beat them in 81 in the Spectrum, right?
Was that Al Wood? That would have been Al Wood. That was Al Wood. Okay. Then that was the year we got eliminated, and we were in the Elite Eight. Was that the Elite Eight? That was to get to the Final Four, right?
Did y'all play Indiana in the Final Four in Philly?
I thought we did. Yeah.
Okay. So Carolina must have played. I'm surprised. I forget who Carolina played on the other side to get to the championship.
Yeah. So that was the year that Isaiah took them all the way that year. And for those that don't know, Isaiah Thomas is an old man now. He old. In college, he wasn't nothing but the truth. Nothing but the truth in college. He was amazing. Now he went hardship. Isaiah went hardship. He came out early because he had family situations. He had talked about many times how his family, his mom didn't have electricity. He had to do all of his recruiting visits in the daytime. He said also we lived in a pretty bad neighborhood, so the coaches wouldn't come at night. He said the only coach who would come in the nighttime was Bobby Knight because he wasn't scared.
Yeah,
So,
Bobby Knight.
hey,
It seemed
rest
that
in
way.
peace, Bobby Knight. That's probably why he ended up with him. But back then, we talk about NIL and all of that stuff. Isaiah Thomas talks about people came over to the house with literally like in the movies, a duffel bag or a briefcase with $50,000 in the briefcase. This is 1978, 79. Do you know how much $50,000 was worth? I'll tell you what, that'll get Florida Evans and James Evans out the projects.
It sure would have.
50,000.
Yes, indeed. That was good money. That was pre-NIL.
Pre-NIL. The original NIL, when it was just some booster that just put money in a kid's pocket. Here's $1,000. Here's $1,000 laundry money, son. It costs $10 to do laundry. He getting $1,000. But I digress. That year, 1983, Tony, was a very painful year for University of Virginia fans. Ralph Sampson's a senior. This is his last shot at the national championship. They had a team good enough to get to the national championship. They lose to NC State in the ACC tournament. NC State goes on and wins the ACC tournament and gets in. UVA ends up, as a result of that loss, ends up going to the West Regional. And that's where they put NC State. And 11 days later, University of Virginia meets North Carolina State one more time in the Elite Eight to go to the Final Four. And NC State eliminates my Virginia Cavaliers, ends Ralph Sampson's college career, and then obviously the rest is history. NC State goes on, they win 2 more games, they win the national championship, and now here we are 41 years later. NC State is back in the Final Four back in the Final Four. And let's get some parallels here, Tony. Not only are they back in the Final Four, they got at least one DC area dude on the team. They got our man Casey Morcell from St. John's. He's from, I believe,
he's a Johnny Mop.
He's a Johnny Mop on the team. So I got to root for NC State. We're going to talk about the men in a second. Guys, I didn't want to get too far ahead of myself. This show is ladies first. We're going to talk about ladies first real quick. Hold on, let me check the comments real quick. Hey, what's up? Yeah, we're going to have Matt on there to handicap these games. Hey, Matt, we see you, baby. We're going to get you on another. We're going to get you on. We're going to get you on for the final, bud. All right?
Who is that?
That's my boy, Matt. He wanted to come on and handicap the games. So listen, let's just talk about this real quick. We got to talk about the women's game. Women's college basketball obviously blowing up. The ratings are huge. The matchups are huge. The coaches, bigger than life. We are on a first-name basis with Kim Mulkey and Dawn Staley and Gino Auriemma at UConn. These are big names in the sport. Caitlin Clark, big name in the sport. She breaks Pete Maravich's scoring record. She holds the scoring record for all of Division I, okay, which is incredible. That's a very tough record to break. I'm not going to cast aspersions on, it's not fair because Pete Maravich didn't have the three-pointer and all that stuff. I don't care. You score more points than Pistol Pete. I don't care if you scored it 25 at a time, 5 at a time, 10 at a time. You scoring some buckets. Caitlin Clark gets buckets. Iowa eliminates Angel Reese and LSU, Kim Mulkey, Haley Van Lith in an epic game. 97, they put up 97 points on them. LSU had nothing for Caitlin Clark, who puts up 41 to get to the Final Four. Big Ten. Shout out to the Big Ten for that. They match up with another heavyweight in the sport. Big East champion, UConn. Paige Buckets. This is the matchup everybody wants to see. That's going to be the 9:30 game. Let's talk about Caitlin Clark for a second. Caitlin Clark is a phenomenon. Fans just love to see her. It's not just the University of Iowa fans. It's nationwide. She's gone literally viral. What were the numbers on how many people watched that game, that Elite Eight game?
Let me put in perspective for everyone. The amount of people that watched that game was more than the NBA Finals last year.
Is that 12 million or is it 19 million?
12.3 million. Now that's what they can actually see with the event of streaming and all the other stuff. I'm thinking the number's probably more like 20.
Because yeah, I think it was probably close.
Everything.
I'll split the difference with you. I think it was a smooth 15 million that was watching that.
At least.
It was crazy.
15 million eyeballs was on that game. But let me tell you what that game showed. What that game showed is Caitlin Clark is nothing but Steph Curry. That girl can flat out play. She can play, she can assist, she can do all that. But what they did and what they didn't do was really, really make her work. They didn't hedge on those screens like they should have. They were falling back. When they go to screen, the person that they are trying to screen, the person that's off the ball should be hedging all the way, almost to where it make it look like it's a trap to get the ball out her hand and then coming back. Because they were doing it. See, here's the thing. They were setting a screen on with a big girl. So when you set a screen with a big girl, the disadvantage for the people setting the screen is the person who's supposed to hedge is a big girl. So that means her arms are longer. So all you got to do, and I kept yelling that night, is show. She wasn't showing. So when you don't show, when she tried to fight through this, it's too late. It's too late.
I thought LSU.
LSU was too late with it. What
I thought LSU got caught going under some screens too.
You can't go under.
To me, with Caitlin, the way with Caitlin, I'll say this: Paige buckets, Caitlin Clark can't go under screens on them. Can't do it. They're just going bombs away. They want you to go on. They want you to go under the screen.
They want you to go
under.
They want you to go under, but you play it right going over, even if she beats you. But now you have a 6'4" or better person in her face. Well, she's not comfortable shooting that, and she shouldn't, because now, and then when you do that, and everybody 1 or 2, 3 passes away, your foot should be in the lane, looking at the ball.
It was tough. I think when I look at coaching decisions, all right, the way you look at it, the way I look at it as a coach, you have to make a decision. How are we going to defend this? Okay. And I don't think Kim Mulkey was as organized and detailed there as she needed to be. I think she left her team a little bit, hung them out to dry just a little bit, and tried to let them figure it out. Now, this was Angel Reese's last college game. Shout out to Angel Reese, St. Francis out of Baltimore, former Maryland Terp. Great college career. Absolutely great college career, a transformative college career. She literally came of age during the NIL era. The NIL era literally happened right on top of her at Maryland. She made a good decision to leave Maryland. Sorry, Terps fans. To go to LSU to get an immediate shot at a national title. She was able to do that. She will graduate with her degree. She has announced that she's going to go into the WNBA draft. Now, you and I, Tony, we look at this. I see down here, you just said 12.3 million fans watched. Basically, what it watched was Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. That's what people signed up for.
That's what they signed up for.
The first pick in the WNBA draft, we can just go on ahead and write it down now. It's going to be Caitlin Clark to the Indiana Fever. So Caitlin Clark is going to be in the Midwest. All them fans from Iowa are going to drive over there to Indiana to see her play every single stinking game. Okay, I can
Airbnb,
Airbnb going to go crazy in Indiana, and we can just go on and say it right now. Every game next year for Indiana is going to sell out. Just mark it up. They're all going to sell out. Fans are going to show up to see her play. Now, Angel Reese is going to go pro. She's from Baltimore. She went to the University of Maryland. The nearest WNBA team to her is the Washington Mystics. There is no
AAU team
WNBA
is right
team.
here. So
There's no WNBA team in Maryland. There is no WNBA team until you get. Does Philadelphia have a WNBA team?
I don't believe
New
so.
Jersey?
You
I
got
don't
to
think
go
so.
to New York, Liberty.
You got to go to the Liberty. Okay. I think if you are Washington owner Ted Leonsis, I don't know who the GM is for the Mystics. Guess what? I don't care who the GM is for the Mystics.
It could be
This
us
is about
competing for
selling
GM.
tickets. Right now, the Indiana Fever and the Washington Mystics are two of the lowest drawing teams in the 12-team WNBA. I think the Mystics are sitting around 9th out of 12 teams, and the Fever might be just above that at 8th. About 4,500 to 5,000 fans a game. You bring in Caitlin Clark to Indiana, you are going to double or triple your ticket sales. Cut and dried right then and there. And people are actually going to buy season tickets to see her play.
Yep.
Watch the Mystics. They play in Capital One Arena. That is truly their home stadium. They do play games at the Sports and Entertainment Center over in Southeast, and that holds about 5,000 to 7,000. But right now, the Washington Mystics right now are drawing less than Gonzaga High School. Okay? Gonzaga High School. That's terrible. Okay?
They got to go. If the Mystics
if you draft Angel Reese, if you draft Angel Reese right now at number 6, which is a little high, but I'm okay with Ted taking a reach here. She will fill up Capital One Arena by herself. Are they going to outdraw the Wizards? No, they're not going to outdraw the Wizards. Wizards draw about 17,000 a game, Tony. Who knew? That's about what the Capitals do, the NHL team here. They draw about 16,000, 17,000 a game. They're not going to outdraw the NBA here. But she will darn sure put 10,000 people in them seats.
If she put 10,000 in those, listen.
She pays for herself. She pays for herself.
So let me get it so people can understand the game of basketball. What Caitlin Clark is Steph Curry. That's who she is. Now, for the old folks, what Angel Reese is and what she will be in the pros is she will give to you what Dennis Rodman gave to you. Her just goal, or just her on the boards, offense and defensive boards, that can't be taught. That really can't be coached. That has to come from here. And when people say, well, her offensive game is going to be limited, well, it may not be, because when you get a rebound, you usually within 6, 7, 8 feet of the goal. If it's offensive rebound, what I'm saying is, it's all going to be dependent on her team. If she has good scores and everything around her, which most you do have in the WNBA, you need somebody who plays defense, block shots, and rebound. And that's what Angel Reese does best. If she gets on a team that got a couple scores and they need some defense and they need them, you do what your team needs you to do to win. Yeah, do she need to develop a little 8-foot shot? Probably. But guess what? That's going to come within the game, and that's going to come within her getting out and learning the game. But what you can't take from her is her tenacity on those daggone boards, because she missed 3 minutes of that game the other night, and she still finished with 17 points, 20 boards, 5 assists, 3 blocks, and 3 steals. What? I mean, she did that. She almost had a Moses Malone night, 20 points and 20 boards. I mean,
look, she balled out. She plays with a lot of passion. She plays with a lot of heart. Honestly, I'm not mad if the Mystics take her at 6. But again, Tony, if she is there at pick 6, I don't think you can pass on her. I think you got to do it. I think you got to bring in somebody that is going to fill the seats up. Throw a bone to these DC, Maryland area fans, man. Give them something to look out, to look forward to. By the way, Elena Deladon is going to be out for the season anyway next year. She has back injuries, so she ain't going to play anyway. So you might as well, while she's out, if you're Ted Leonsis, you might as well make you a little bit of money, okay? Just a little. So
you might as well. Might as well. Hey, Caitlin Clark just won her back-to-back Naismith. So what we have?
She won 2 Naismiths. Yeah,
two Naismiths.
And the Big Ten is going to win both Naismiths this year because Zach Edey from Purdue. Yeah, Zach Edey from Purdue got it. So
they just swept it in 2 years in a row, right?
Yeah, they swept the Naismith 2 years in a row.
And oddly enough, if they don't win the national championship, really nobody.
I will say this. I got to give a shout out. Okay, got to give a shout out. I love Zach Edey. He's a great player. He has 2 Naismiths and a Wooden Award, right? He's going to win the Wooden again this year, so he'll have 2 of each, right? Okay. Ralph Sampson has 3 Naismiths, 2 Woodens. That's pretty. If you can get 2 of both of those, just 2, you're in rarefied air. There's only 2 guys or 3 or 4 guys that have won 3. I think Ralph Sampson's 1, Bill Walton is the other. He won 3 Naismiths. And I want to say Jerry Lucas, when he was at Ohio State.
Win 3?
Kareem did not win 3. He did not win 3 Naismiths. He might have won 3 Woodens, though. It's hard. It was hard to sweep them all. It's very hard to sweep them all. I mean, think about this, Tony. As good as Pat Ewing was in college, he didn't get 3 Naismiths and 2 Woodens, and he won a national title.
And he was a bad boy.
He was a monster. But that shows
it's also,
they overlapped. Ralph and Pat overlapped a couple of years.
I think the next year, I think tomorrow or yesterday was the 40th anniversary, 30th, 40th anniversary of Georgetown winning the championship. Oh, it was on the 1st.
It was on the 1st.
I think it was, yeah, because they won it in '84 on April 1st. Did they not?
Yeah, they were in Seattle. It was at the Kingdom.
So it was the day that they won it, on the day that Marvin Gaye
died. Yep.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Marvin Gaye died back here in DC. Yep.
Yeah.
Very sad.
So
there's a lot of historical significance in the Georgetown victory. There's a lot of significance, obviously, in NC State's victory in '83. Maybe this year for the women's side, we're going to look at this one 15 years, 20 years from now as a really historic, a really historic Final Four. So again, on the left side of the bracket, you've got UConn and Iowa. Okay, they're going to play the 9:30 game. The early game is going to be South Carolina, Dawn Staley's Gamecocks, Lady Gamecocks. We're going to go against the NC State Wolfpack. So this year we have 2 teams with both their men's and the women's in the men's and the women's Final Four. That would be NC State. Yep, NC State and UConn. Okay, so congratulations to those 2 schools for keeping your basketball trump tight. I'm going to do this, Tony. I'm going to take South Carolina over NC State. Okay, SEC over ACC. Dawn Staley just won her third straight Coach of the Year.
Yep,
something like that. I don't think anyone's won. I think maybe Pat Summitt or Gino have won 3 in a row. That's pretty incredible. You rarely see a great player who is also a great coach. It's very rare. Usually it's the average player, mediocre player. It's never the best player on a team. When I was in college, Dawn Staley was the best player in the ACC, probably the country. Actually, she was the best player in the country 2 years when she was at UVA. I'll give South Carolina the nod over NC State, which brings us to this UConn-Iowa game. I love trouble. I want to see a rematch. And who doesn't love a rematch? Give me Iowa over UConn so we can see if Caitlin Clark can take a championship away from Dawn Staley in South Carolina.
Ooh,
that will be a very well-watched.
Will be the best.
People say sports is scripted. It might be. It might be. I don't know. I would love to see that. I want to see Caitlin Clark go out, and if Dawn Staley's going to get another championship, and by the way, right now Dawn Staley is riding a 105-3 string. The last 108 games, she's won 103,
Mm.
and only that one championship in there. In that time, she hasn't repeated. She's trying to repeat. It's hard to repeat in women's basketball now. This isn't the old days of Gino Auriemma and Pat Summitt when they could repeat. There's the talent is a little more spread out now. It's not to the point where it is in the men's side where there's parity and you can have a 16-1, which we've seen happen twice now. You're not going to see that in the women's game yet. But what you will see is you will see a team outside of South Carolina and UConn able to get to a Final Four and have a good shot at winning it. So we have a very interesting women's Final Four shaping up, Tony. The first game, the South Carolina-NC State game, is at 7 p.m. And then the 9:30, that's when you got to get your wings and all that stuff ready. That's going to be a barn burner. UConn against Iowa is going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm really going to enjoy that. Everyone definitely check that out. We're going to talk about the men's side here real quick on the TD Report. I'm your host, David Combs, over here with Tony Kennedy, talking college hoops. Again, you're going to see a pattern here. The men's Final Four, the women's Final Four all contain one Big East team, one SEC team, one Big Ten team, and an ACC team. Okay? And I think that's pretty incredible. I think what happened on the men's side, especially with the ACC had a great tournament in general in terms of their teams, aside from Virginia, winning games and getting through the draw. University of North Carolina had a very good shot at making it to the Final Four, just couldn't quite get there. NC State ended up eliminating Duke in the Elite Eight. And honestly, Tony, that game to me was really interesting to watch. And I want you to talk about what you saw from that game. And I'm going to put it like this. I think John Shire made a tactical mistake, not doubling DJ Burns the second he caught the basketball. I think they let him get too low and get his little flip, his up and unders. They let him post them up. I think you have to make DJ Burns, the big fella. He's got to be giving up 9-10 assists a game to beat me. I'm not going to let him score 27 points.
Well, I didn't watch second half of that game. I came in with like 2 minutes to go. So from what I got from people is that you can't let a big man like that get down in the post. Now,
he was
saying that, they have to match up against Purdue, correct? Isn't that the matchup? Who they match up in the Final Four?
Yes.
They match up against Purdue. So they both teams' strengths. Let's see how that works out. I mean, well, I give Duke credit for being there because, I mean, I didn't think Duke was there, but, you know, Duke has a way of getting in the tournament and working their way out. But 2 out of the last 3 years, Duke has been eliminated by the neighbor to the east and the neighbor to the west. That ain't too good, man. When you're in the tournament, you lost to Carolina in the Final Four, and you lost NC State in the Elite Eight. That doesn't sit well down the old Tobacco Road. So, guys,
I was watching the game.
Understand that.
I was watching the game. So, and shout out to my friends at North Carolina. Shout out to my friends at NC State, my buddies at Duke. I got to give my boy Derek Hackins some love. What's up, brother? Shout out to Grant Hill. Grant Hill had to call that game, Tony. He had to call that Elite Eight game. He had to watch his boys just literally get choked out.
I listen. From what I hear, they were shooting too many damn threes, bro.
Huh?
You know,
and he called the other. Tony, he called the other one too. He had to call that one. He had to call the North Carolina Duke game too.
Yeah, he did.
That had to hurt, Tony. That had to hurt.
Maybe bad luck.
Hey, I got to throw some shade. Hey, listen, somebody from Auburn has been getting at me. They've been getting after me because let's just take the time out on the show. Hold on, time out. Some Auburn fans are still upset with UVA from a couple of years ago. They're saying that Ty Jerome double dribbled, before the big shot and all of that stuff. Okay, let's just clear this up right now. Auburn fans, I'm talking to you. Really sorry, y'all got to the Final Four and didn't win the championship. Okay, I'm really sorry, but I know this has to hurt. You know why that championship hurt? It wasn't just losing to Virginia, Tony. In that tournament, they beat Kansas, North Carolina, and Kentucky.
Woo!
Beat three of the winningest teams in all of
Blue
college
Buds.
basketball
They beat
in the
three
same
Blue
tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to the Final Four, you lose to Virginia.
That was the Final Four game when Jerome had that shot. That was the Final Four.
That was Kyle Guy. Yeah, Kyle Guy. It was a foul. I watched it. I've watched it a million times. I've tried to say, "Oh, we got lucky." He bumped him. He bumped him.
He did.
He bumped him on a three. And listen, even if you get bumped on a three, UVA was down. What were we down two? Down two. You got to make three to win. He made all three.
That's how they won.
That's guts.
That's
63 to 60. 63 to 62.
Mm.
So that three that he took, the Kyle Guy took, was for the win. Okay. Buzzer goes off. Auburn runs off the court. And Bruce Pearl stops midway to the scorer's table. He's out ready to shake hands. And then he's like, what? Ref had his hand in the air.
Referee like this, dog. Come on.
Yeah. Look, Bruce Pearl, I can understand. If this had happened to my team, if this had happened to UVA, I understand how he feels. But if you're Auburn and you beat Kentucky, Kansas, and North Carolina in the same tournament, you're going to have to kill somebody to win. You were destined to win a tournament. The only thing they could have done was beat Duke. If they had beat all four of them, give them the title. Give them the title just on general principle. But did you remember that, Tony? You remember that. And not only did they beat Kansas, Tony, they whooped Kansas's butt. They killed Kansas.
Yep, they did.
Destroyed. Yeah, what happened with y'all? What happened with Carolina that year?
In 19
against Auburn. That was 2019.
Yeah, we lost to Auburn. They just ran out of gas.
Were they hitting threes? I think Auburn had a lot of threes that year. They were hitting threes.
They ran out of gas. That was a good. Listen, man, I was so mad the year before.
2018. Yeah.
18 because I had picked UVA and they lost to Man, when they lost to UMBC, man, I was so damn done. I was ready to kill somebody. No
excuses. You can't lose to a 16 seed, even if one of your best players is injured. I get it. A lot of good things had to happen for UVA in 2019. Number one, Kyle Guy, Ty Jerome, and DeAndre Hunter all come back. All right? They all come back. They still had eligibility after 2018. They all come back in 2019. Okay? And then you have to get through that draw. Most UVA teams, after beating Purdue in one of the best Elite Eight games ever,
one
of the most incredible Elite Eight game finishes ever, just to get to overtime, they survived, 42 points from Carson Edwards, who literally could not miss. UVA must have tried everybody but Tony Bennett on this guy, and they could not stop this kid.
Nope.
I swear. If Carson Edwards walked into the JPJ Arena at UVA, they wouldn't even boo him because they're scared of him. That dude was so ridiculous. He was hitting everything, Tony. Over everybody. He was just, once we got into overtime, he cooled off a little bit, and we were able to get that win. Still ended up going to the Final Four. You have the game against Auburn. You could argue, should have lost, probably. But you know what? That's college basketball. I mean, that's what makes it great. I mean, I'm going to look at this year's Final Four. We're going to say, I'm going to take Purdue. over NC State this time. I'm going to take Purdue. And I think that Matt Painter, as a coach of Purdue, he played for Gene Keady. He is one of the best coaches in the country. There's just something about March. It's like, there's some people that can get an A in a class, but then you put them on an SAT and they're not so good. The NCAA tournament is the SAT. Purdue gets straight A's during the year. They get to the SAT and they just freeze up. But this year, they were able to get out of their way. They are trying to complete what most people said is impossible. They're going to lose to a 16 last year, which they did. And they're going to try to go all the way and win it the next year, which UVA completed 2 years. Yep. UVA did that in 2020 and 19. Okay. 2018, you lose to the 16 seed as a 1. You come back the next year and win the whole thing. People said, oh, God, that's never going to be done again because they thought no one is ever going to lose to a 16 again. And 2 years later, bam.
A couple years later, it happened. So, hey.
So let's move over to the other side of the draw. Big East Power, UConn, defending national champion from last year. Dan Hurley's squad has not been within 13 points in the last 10 tournament games.
It seemed like 20. It seemed like 20.
They've won by 13
this
more.
Tournament, it's been 20.
It's been 20. But I think somebody came within 13 points last year. That's the closest anyone's been. They're going to play against Alabama. You know what? I'm going to say something crazy. Alabama's supposed to be a football school, right?
Yeah.
They had to beat a football school to get into the Final Four, right?
They had to beat Clemson to get in.
And, hey, shout out to Clemson. Great season. Great freaking season for Clemson. Alabama might mess around and win this one.
Man, you lost your daggone mind. Alabama ain't beat no damn UConn. In football, yes. See, they think we in September. This is April. This ain't September, folks. See, folks, stop. Don't listen to Dave. He gonna have you go to FanDuel and lose your house.
Hey, I didn't say go to FanDuel. I just said, listen.
He lost his damn.
UConn is already stacking up. UConn is already stacking up excuses. They're complaining about how big their hotel room is. They're complaining about the flight out.
I don't care if UConn,
the flight came in late.
Were they in Phoenix? I don't care if
Glendale,
UConn stand all the way in Tempe or whatever, and they were out sleeping with the cactuses. I don't care what Arizona got to offer them. They're sleeping today. UConn is going to run all over top of these boys. It ain't even going to be close. Don't listen to Dave. Dave is going to have y'all. Dave going to have y'all homeless messing with him because somebody going to go, oh, man, it's the first of the month. Let me push my whole check in. Well,
hey, the TD report does not advocate gambling.
Yes.
This is for entertainment purposes only.
And we don't advocate stupidity either.
Hey.
That's stupidity.
Hey.
You go mess around with them people all you want. Yeah, okay.
So play it out,
Tony. Listen to Dave.
UConn Purdue, huh? That's your national championship game?
I want UConn and NC State because I want a chance.
They'll kill NC State.
They may kill NC State, but there's a small chance that the ghost of Jim Valvano in the Southwest may come and jump up and sneak them. There's a chance.
You could bring the ghost. You could bring back the ghost of, what is it, Norm Sloan. You could bring back the ghost of, hey, shout out to K. Yao. You bring back the ghost of K. Yao. NC State is not beating Purdue. They're not going to. Purdue's going to win that game. I think your national championship game, if you're going to take UConn, I think Purdue beats either Alabama or UConn and wins it. Give me Purdue.
Hey, listen,
give me Purdue.
He got Purdue.
I want to see it. I want to see Matt Painter get this national championship.
I don't care about no Matt Painter, Matt whatever.
He's a great coach.
All
Tony.
that stuff, folks. UConn is going to put the dog to everybody. Now, will I cheer for NC State because I like the stories and I love the Cinderella and I love the Rudy movie and stuff. I love that sappy stuff. I love the Lifetime sports stuff. I love it because I like to see people, the movies where it's a good movie when you got to get the slow clap.
With the slow clap.
Everybody waiting on the slow clap.
Like We Are
Marshall
Marshall.
Type movies.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
So that's just me. But when somebody slap me and wake me up and realize this ain't no movie, this is real life. And in reality, them dudes for UConn gonna run ragged over people. But we are allowed to drink.
They've been doing. That's what they've been doing for the past year. Last year they just run roughshod over everybody. This year, a little bit closer, but not much. What Dan Hurley is doing this year is one of the most underreported stories in probably all of college basketball.
He's doing hell of a job.
He's done it. Listen, NC State is doing it with the transfer portal. A lot of those guys did not start. I think
Alabama is doing it with the transfer portal more than anybody. 4 of their 5
Alabama's doing it. Purdue is doing it more of the old-fashioned way. Their guys are there. Duke did it the old-fashioned way. All 5 of Duke's starters started at Duke, and they are still there. But when you look at an NC State, when you look at an Alabama, when you look at a UConn, this is the transfer portal era. That's what we're looking at, okay?
Transfer portal,
even in the women's,
and the NIL.
Even in the women's, it's in the NIL. But even in the women's side, you look at what happened with, this year with LSU. LSU transfer portal, Haley Van Lith transfer, Angel Reese transfer. 2 extremely important pieces of this year's team, and obviously Angel Reese last year. Haley Van Lith came over from Louisville the year before. Haley is going back into the transfer portal this year. So I don't know if you saw the video. Did I send it out on Twitter, everybody, if you want to check it out. The women's college basketball did their award stuff. They did that yesterday. And there's a scene where Dawn Staley, the coach of South Carolina, is greeting Cameron Brink, who is the starting power forward for Stanford. And as a joke, Dawn Staley said, "Hey, she's coming over to South Carolina through the transfer portal." And everyone just busted out laughing. And some of the South Carolina fans were like, Now, we know that's not going to happen. Cameron Brink's going in the draft. She's going to be the number 2 pick, I think, to the Sparks. So she's going to stay out west, play for the Sparks. Great basketball player, great camaraderie.
Great looking girl for Hollywood. She's probably going to make more money because she looks the part.
She's going to be on billboards. She's going to be on billboards, magazine covers, and everyone knows it. But just the general camaraderie of the women's game when they get off the court, similar to what we see in the men's side. Once you get on the court, though, as Angel Reese has said, look, I don't have anything against Caitlin Clark. Once we're on the court, though, I got a job to do. She's got a job to do. Yes. And I think sometimes even the media has really messed up a lot of these storylines and tried to make some of the trash talk on the court, have tried to make it super, super personal when you and I both know ball players are ball players, okay? It's not like that. I went to a school, when I was at St. John's, we hated Gonzaga more than any other school. That was our rival school. But that didn't mean we didn't have no love lost. We had no love lost for DeMatha, too, or anybody else who came to our gym to play. We would always go back and forth with those guys. But the thing I know about the ballers that I know, I've talked with guys like Brandon Adams, who went to St. John's, transferred to Flint Hill. Shout out to my boy Brandon. He used to talk about, all of us ball players, because all of these kids, they go to the same basketball camps. They play on the same AAU teams together. You see what I mean? So they do know each other. And listen, from our day, Tony, we lived in the same neighborhoods with each other.
Yeah.
These were dudes, these were cats from down the street. Oh yeah, they play over, you went to school, you went to Bladensburg. Your boy Brian Davis went to your boy Brian Davis went there, but then a lot of your other friends went to DeMatha and played.
Yep.
So they were living in the neighborhood, they're going to a different school, and them. So when you get on the court, it's you're competing. It's like you're competing against your brother, or your cousins. You're not trying to hurt anybody. You're just trying to play ball. You're trying to show them that you can play and you want to win that game. See, and that's what we see with the women's. And I think a lot of people make it out like there's actual hatred or animosity between these players. And there really isn't. And I think when you see them at an awards banquet, Caitlin's going to get her awards. Cameron Brink is going to get her awards. Angel Reese will get an award, or whoever. They're all sitting there laughing and cheesing. Us fans are sitting here arguing with each other on social media. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's just my takeaway from what's happened with the discourse in women's sports. Okay. We see a lot of competition in women's tennis. We saw that when Venus and Serena Williams were playing. Everyone wanted to beat them, and it didn't happen very often. So it's all about winning, if that's what you're about, and competing at the highest level.
Hey, Dave, we will say this. For the people who hate the transfer portal and who hate NIL, it has put college basketball back because we don't have all the people pressed to go pro before they are developed, before they, now you have more years of staying in. Whether you transferring here or there, you're still getting good coaching, and you're not left as the 12th man on the bench in the NBA or however. The NIL and the transfer portal, hand in hand. Once people get adjusted to it, it is great because it gives, the people who think they swear they so good, gives you a chance to go somewhere to go find out you're really not that good. Now I need to stay here and learn from the coach and develop. So what it did do is killing your G League. They don't need to go there no more. Okay? They can stay in college. And they can stay in college and make money while getting an education and learning connections for life. That's
I like the
how
G
it
League.
should be done.
I like the G League for what it was. And I agree with you on that, Tony. I think NIL is ultimately going to kill the G League. But this is what college basketball wanted anyway. College basketball didn't want the G League.
No.
Because that takes away great players from the G League. I mean, from college basketball, some of which we won't ever get to see in college. Okay. Nope. But what we are going to start seeing is with 12 teams, let's just take it to the women's side for a second. You have 12 teams in WNBA. Okay. That means you draft, what do they draft? 2 rounds? 3 rounds, maybe, so 3 rounds. So you're going to pick up 3 to 4 players at the max and try to put them on a roster. Some of those ladies that come out in that draft are not going to make a team with 12 teams because all of the talent is kind of tight. It's tight on those teams. So the only thing that the WNBA can do is expand. Expansion costs money. You have to find an owner that owns a team or owns an NBA team that wants to invest in the WNBA product. And if you look at the attendance, there's no team in the WNBA that gets more than 10,000 average per night. No team. It's 9,000 and down. Okay. So you have to look at, okay, I'm going to open up my arena where I normally get 17 to 20,000 to come watch hockey or basketball men's. How do I make it so that I make money off of the women's product? Because I'm already charging a lower amount for the ticket anyway, and I still can't fill the stands up.
Dave, you have to have a 10,000 seat arena that's cost effective, and you have to kind of bring the community together to where they're kind of owning the team from everything from the local sponsorship to the local teams to the whole community. For the team to be with the community, that is how that you're going to get ingrained. Because I'm telling you, man, women's sports are blowing up. And it's only going to keep going. And I keep telling everybody all the time, no matter what happens, this and that, and this, even the women, when they get on TV, hi, mom. The guys, hi, mom. Guess what? Women are the ones who run things. So if they the ones who run things, and now you voting and putting them in power, man, you better get on right now. You better get on, and I'm sorry for you folks who don't like this. Hey, that's tough. Those old days are gone, where the women got to go overseas to go make money and all that other stuff. Those days are gone. I mean, if you ever watched the movie Love and Basketball,
the only way
told you that it was bad.
The only way the WNBA can get themselves out of this situation, unfortunately, is there's not enough Caitlin Clark to go around. Okay, so she can't save the league by herself, right? She needs a little help. So people are, making her out to be the Larry Bird of college basketball. I like that analogy. The only problem is she needs a Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
And but unfortunately, it won't be Angel Reese. She needs somebody similar to, Paige, someone like that has the ball in her hand, that's out top, that brings the ball up the court, that plays the guard position. That's what she needs. Okay. And
she may find her. She may find her tomorrow, because if they get to throwing some knuckles in that game, man,
that's what we're looking at. Now, listen, the New York Liberty have Sabrina Ionescu, who is one of the greatest players in the world. She's incredible. Okay. But that's what the WNBA needs, is to develop these compelling storylines. Now, before anyone says, oh, this is the greatest thing ever, blah, 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 guess what? The league has already had Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, Dawn Staley. We've already had Cynthia Cooper, Houston Comets, Tina Thompson, Candace Parker, who's still, we've already done this before, and the WNBA couldn't get it right. And the networks didn't sell that product properly, okay? And did that generation of players a great disservice, okay? Mm-hmm. So now, with Caitlin Clark, with Paige, hopefully with AZ Fudd, when she goes pro next year, she's hurt this year, she'll be a senior next year. Hopefully she has a great senior year, takes UConn to a championship or back to the Final Four, has a great, finish to her senior season. But they've got to market this league better. They've got to get this attendance up. Basically, the next frontier for the WNBA is this. When I looked at the NBA's numbers, Washington Wizards are down in the top 3 or 4, in the bottom 3 or 4 in the league in attendance. They still draw $17,000 a night. The best team in the league in attendance right now is the Chicago Bulls, a little bit over 20,500 a night. The Dallas Mavericks are second, around 20,000. Okay, so if you're going to tell me that the worst team in the NBA, at the very worst, is going to draw about 15 to 17,000, and the best WNBA team is going to do 10, the next frontier for the WNBA is to get their average attendance across the league to 15,000 per game.
I think the average attendance, it's going to have to be anywhere that 12 to 15,000 range.
They got to get it over $10,000 per team, Tony.
Yeah, 10 grand.
You can't have teams. You can't have teams with 4,000, 5,000 fans a game like the Mystics are doing right now. So, like we said earlier in the show, if you bring Angel Reese here, I guarantee you're going to do about 10,000 a night.
The goal is to put butts in those seats. That is the goal.
It can't be that hard, Tony. It ain't rocket chemistry.
Angel Reese will be a Mystic.
Bring her here to DC, please. Because I guarantee you, when the Indiana Fever come here and bring Caitlin Clark to town, I guarantee you, every single hotel downtown gonna be full. Guarantee. Because they're coming from Iowa. They'll drive here, Tony.
What up,
Overnight.
Sean?
They'll drive.
Yeah,
They don't need
you're
to
right.
fly. They'll drive here to come see Caitlin play. And if she played against Angel, ooh, it's gonna be a lot of
So
fun.
Monday night is the championship, and we will have seen the women's championship already the day before. So we're going to come back on Monday night to lead you up to the championship. And
I'll
don't
bring
be
Matt in.
surprised if it's NC State coming to the championship with that little Cinderella, NC State. I just sometimes I got that feeling. You know, you got to have that feeling.
All right, I'm gonna have my boy Matt on the show too. That did that came on previously. All right, bring him on Monday. Okay. Thanks, Tony. Hey, we'll catch you guys on Monday. We're gonna catch you guys on Monday.
Thank you for joining us. Much love, guys. Much love.
Appreciate you, Tony. Talk to you later.
See you, Dave.
Peace.